Namaste, precious, precious souls. Welcome to Book of Life, the third week here in June. We'll be reading the fourth degree, lesson 15, Seventh Heaven. It's a good one. So with that, we will invoke. Okay, so go ahead and just place tip of the tongue on the palate, be in a receptive pose. I'm spacing up. To the Supreme Being, to the Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, the great architect of the universe, to all of our spiritual teachers, Holy Master Choa, to Buddha Padmasambhava, to Robert and Earlyne, to Burton Bigelow, Master Astara, Lord Kuthumi, Lord Rama, Lord Zoser, to the Astarian hierarchy, the Lord Yehoshua, Bar Miriam, the Lord Christ, Holy Mother Mary, Lord Kuan Yin Buddha, Lord Gautama Buddha, all the great ones, our celestial guides, our angel guides, our higher souls, planetary logos, the solar logos, the universal logos. We humbly invoke for your divine blessings. May we be a channel through which thy holy ones approach the world. May we be a center for the radiation of thy power. Teach us to travel light, that we may better gain the heights and break the bonds that bind. Teach us to give ourselves entirely to thy service, to attune ourselves to thy will. Teach us to lay down the small personal life for the greater cosmic life and to love with the love of God. With thanks and in full faith. Tatatso, tatatso, tatatso. We release all unauthorized connections. Cut, 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 cut. Okay. Seventh Heaven, fourth degree, lesson 15. Religion over there. We have given you Burton's teachings concerning life on all the planes. We spoke many times to him concerning religion over there. Here is the ingathering of his remarks. What is your definition of true religion? Religion means many things to many people. To me, it has always meant one's personal relationship to God. Inwardly, it is expressed as a trust and devotion to the great architect of the universe. Outwardly, it is expressed as service to one's fellows. A religious life implies a life where one works for the highest good of one's self and others, and where one seeks to strengthen the connection with divine source. I have found religion over here to be a progressive understanding of God's divine purposes and a perpetual and increasing desire to align with those purposes through service and usefulness. On earth, and in some spheres over here, religion is emphasized through rituals, ceremonies, and the belief in creeds. Some minds, both here and there, seem to require such aids in reaching Godward. Others find such aids unnecessary, so long as one is able to contact one's idea of the divine source, divine spirit, through personal worship and attunement. There's nothing wrong with such an approach. It is simply that some of us feel cramped by too literal an interpretation of creeds and ideas. I would have to say that I know more about God now than I did when on earth, but I know God more as an infinite supreme being. I feel more closely involved in divine purposes. It is not that I have seen a separate great being called God, nor feel any wish to do so. If I wished to see God, I would only be wishing to limit this being to my perception. God cannot be compressed into such an anthropomorphic concept. The infinite being remains for me the great and worshipful being that I look to as the very source of my life and simultaneously the permeating divine essence of all. You ask if this great being ever communicates directly with individuals. I would have to say that the great masters in the higher spheres must receive communications from the divine source and, according to how they can interpret such word thoughts into divine will and wishes, communicate them to us. I also know that many people communicate directly with the divine being in many ways, through intuition, through Mother Nature, through the love found in our relationships with ourselves and with others, and so on. Does telepathy operate also in celestial realms? On my level over here, it certainly is possible for no language barrier to exist. A Chinese person can speak to me, yet I can perceive his or her meaning mentally without understanding one word of the language. Our method of communication via telepathy translates even foreign tongues into word meaning in our minds. There is an intuitive receiving from the divine being. There is certainly a constant downpouring of blessings, of which we are all aware. Insofar as actual words, occasionally one does receive intuitive, indirect perceptions of what a person on earth might deem to be words, but what we here would recognize as our communicative telepathy might be termed words without sounds. Spiritual classes on the higher plane. Leaders of the great religions and their representatives hold meetings which attract throngs of seekers. Some meetings are in halls of learning, others are broadcast to various centers. Although many of the teachers may represent the various traditional religions, large and small, they also represent all the lesser known disciplines and spiritual movements. Their remark always pertains to the various religions and philosophies, and even individual denominations, because the greater number who enter this plane of life still hold dear to their hearts the cherished beliefs of their earth life. Many are still struggling with churchianity and traditionality as opposed to spirituality. These teachers' primary mission is to present the more enlightened mystical views of religions and their denominations. Their views are related to pure spirituality, to the ideas that originate from the source of sources. In other words, they teach in full purity, beauty, and conviction what Astara teaches. Astarians will feel totally at home when they arrive in this higher side of life. The purpose behind these meetings or classes is to help each soul gain a fuller and deeper understanding of their own particular brand of religion, and to develop an understanding of and respect for all other religions and spiritual movements, as well as an appreciation for the mystical truths present in each. Thus, connections and commonalities between all these avenues of spiritual knowledge come to be appreciated and respected, rather than judged and feared, looked at through the lens of intolerance, as they may have been while that soul was on earth. When it becomes time for each soul to reincarnate, it is hoped that those teachings will be embedded somewhere in each soul's mental seed, atom, and that gradually those on earth will respond to the call of mysticism, tolerance, acceptance, and appreciation, rather than to fear, control, judgments, and the belief that one religion or religious leader must be held high and fought for above all the rest. It is also the case that some souls who experience these classes together while over here will reincarnate on earth at approximately the same time, finding one another again on the earth plane. They come to recognize a soul friend and once again may spend time together on earth in late night conversations, exploring mystical and spiritual ideas with one another, interested in various religions and spiritual practices with an acceptance and an excitement that embraces one another's lives and helps each move forward on their spiritual path. The path of each person may be similar to the other, or they could be very different. On earth, again, one may be a Buddhist, one a mystical Christian, one a Jew, one a follower of the goddess and a worshiper of nature. One may be interested in Native American Indian spirituality, for example. But because of their training while their souls were over here, each will be interested in the mystical aspects of every other. There will be no judging or condemnation. Each will be actively interested in and supportive of whatever is meaningful and right to the other. And there will be an open-heartedness and a sharing which will lead one to try out a concept or a practice which has helped another. This type of spiritual friendship will transform life on earth from one where religions are pitted against one another to one where followers respect and share the many paths of the divine source, or to the divine source. These classes over here are the beginning of this type of transformation, which people will begin to manifest on earth. When this comes to pass, how much greater peace will prevail on earth and over here as well. Spiritual teachers and avatars. Regarding spiritual teachers and avatars, Burton explained, all highly evolved spiritual teachers, such as Jesus, Mother Mary, Buddha, Kuan Yin, Moses, and so on, have their dwelling place on the seventh sphere. Seldom do newcomers meet them face to face, as they have been taught to believe while on earth. However, there are powerful thought forms of all spiritual leaders throughout the spheres, and there is little doubt that they communicate with worshipful individuals on all planes. Also, after some preparation, those who follow their teachings are often taken on visits to this vicinity. One must be prepared. In the seventh realm, they are present in a very personal and individual sense, manifesting in a form that one can see and touch and hear. Those of us who have been here for some time and have developed our clairvoyance are able occasionally to bring visions of any of the master teachers to our perception. Thus, we are taught to tune in with any that we choose and call upon them when we have a mission needing their help and guidance on a lower sphere. We feel a closer attunement with them here than we were ever able to perceive on earth. As human beings, we were beset by distractions and anxieties, as are all people. It was difficult to maintain concentrated thoughts about any teacher, but here, the actual being comes into clearer focus, and the light of their reality shines into our awareness. Thus, whenever I have need of communion with any master teacher, I try to visualize his or her face, calling to mind the voice or the touch. Such a meditation brings light upon my problem, illuminating every difficulty and bringing understanding about what to do. Yes, I have been to the seventh sphere, and I have seen master teachers face to face, though I was in the midst of a multitude of others. When I beheld the Master Jesus, I saw his face, his hands, his hair, his form. I heard his voice, and I felt his touch. The real Master surpasses anything ever depicted on earth. His spiritual beauty is far beyond any likeness. Never could an earthly picture of capture his great majesty, his overpowering gentleness and humility, nor could the light that radiates from him ever be caught on a canvas. One is never the same after such a contact. Even returning to our own spheres, none of us remain the same as we were before going. Our whole lives seemed to have been illuminated. Our homes even seemed to acquire a wondrous new glow, and everything we now do seems to have a higher purpose. The same experience is true when connected with all the master teachers. The seventh sphere is the outermost sphere or condition of what we call our world. It would be impossible for me to try to describe life, work, and activity on that sphere, since it is so far beyond my own. I can only say that every thought, every action there is dedicated to the highest good of others and of self. Every aim, every purpose, every ambition is towards service and positive growth. My contacts on this sublime sphere have been brief, but after contacting it, I have been more conscious of divine light here on my own sphere, more aware of the pervading love of all the spiritual leaders and teachers. Human beings are aware of these leaders much as a fire in the distance. Here, we are aware of them as a fire close at hand, whose warmth we cannot only see, but feel. On their high plane, I am taught that the inhabitants become so much a part of the divine wisdom that one is much less desirous of any individual thing, whether for oneself, for any individual on the planes beneath one, or even for loved ones of earth. In that, the outlook becomes less personal. They desire heaven for all humanity. There's a great desire for the spiritual evolution of all of humanity and for all of life everywhere. I have not attained to that. I still feel too close to those of you remaining on earth. That which you want, I want for you. I can still feel enthusiastic about many things and reject others. I understand that on those higher spheres, the emotions become far more universal. It is not that there you love your family and friends less, but that you love all others more than before. I certainly have not yet attained to such detachment. It is also true that there is a perceptible change in the deep love one may have held for others in earth life. There is less the possessive quality of you are mine, and more the higher quality of we are each other's. The essence of personal possessiveness in love decreases, and the realization of a seamlessness in a shared love becomes visible. Psychic gifts. Since many of the great spiritual teachers, apparently with great physics, are psychics, it would seem proper for us to seek unfoldment of our own intuitive abilities and to encourage such seeking in others, wouldn't it? We inquired. Burton answered, the entire earthly life of the great spiritual leaders were clearly designed to link the spiritual with the material world. Not by word only did they indicate that you possessed inherent powers, which should be cultivated. They demonstrated these powers innumerable times and encouraged their followers to seek their development. Jesus, for example, assured his followers that they would in time do greater works than himself. He sought to found on earth a community of followers who, becoming aware of these powers, would seek to understand their deeper meaning. He taught in every way possible that he would remain with his followers even after he journeyed to a higher realm. But it was only after Pentecost, when the great flood of spiritual enlightenment descended upon his disciples, that they truly understood what the Master had taught them. Through such a descent of Pentecostal power, their psychic faculties were unfolded. As Christian communities began to be formed, these gifts were fostered and deemed sacred. So rapidly did they blossom among the followers, we find St. Paul warning against the psychic becoming puffed up. He enumerated the psychic gifts and admonished that while some on the surface might seem to be more sensational than others, all were of equal value in the sight of God. Should psychicism be suppressed? There is no reason to believe that the Christ meant his followers to cease unfolding these psychic faculties. True, it is a wise person who will push beyond the psychic to attain spiritual illumination. But up on our upward way, there is no reason not to exercise the extrasensory faculties that are unfolded through normal channels. Although traditional religion is the very channel through which enfoldment should have been guided, it has been the source of suppression, continuing up to this very day. Today, as never before, you are witnessing a new interest in psychic unfoldment and development of one's intuition within the context of spiritual belief. It should be noted that this wave of spiritual illumination and power was not initially the result of research. It has poured in from the other side as revelations breaking through from Summerland itself. Beholding the upheaval in the world today, it is not difficult to recognize the spiritual impact upon every area of life: religion, science, social economics, drama, and even politics have been drawn into the melting pot of circumstance and are being remolded. Such a change cannot come without upheaval and unrest, nor are the spiritual teachers and guides unaware of what human beings are now facing. We overshadow you, sympathize with you, advise you, and guide you in every way possible. We are familiar with the conditions of earth life because we have passed that way ourselves. We know better than you what is transpiring today. Through psychic communication, we tell you about our world and the life we lead. The knowledge of communication with the higher plane has spread far beyond the ranks of spiritualism. There are many churches today that are affected by the spreading magic of mysticism. Many persons are departing the churches of orthodoxy and finding their true spirituality in New Age thought and mystical truths. We see many, though certainly not all, churches revising their doctrines and attempting to soften their dogmas. In pulpits across the land, God, as an implacable tyrant, is being replaced by a God of love and the parent of us all. Some churches are struggling to hold to the old and yet deal with the new. One of the leading churches of earth consistently contradicts its own stance concerning psychic phenomena. On the one hand, it affirms that all intelligent souls must accept the existence of all types of phenomena, yet simultaneously it insists that all such is the devil's own doing, which leaves its faithful rather in a quandary. The trouble is that this church cannot make the existence of Etheria quite fit in with its theology. To openly admit its existence would mean the destruction of much dogma and the reconstruction of their entire theology, which is of course unthinkable to them. Another important church ordered an inquiry into the subject of the afterlife and communication, in order coming from the Archbishop himself. The committee forming the research body was composed of the most illustrious of churchmen. After months of careful investigation, the committee declared communication to be a proven fact, whereupon the church leaders immediately ordered the entire report suppressed. Etheria does not simply disappear just because any one group fails to produce proof of its existence. If confronted, most traditional church leaders declare that yes, there certainly is an afterlife, but every declaration will designate the earth life as being the real material life, while the afterlife is some vague, vaporous period of eternal worship. Religious leaders. Today, the laity no longer necessarily regard traditional or conservative priests, ministers, rabbis, and the episcopate in general as leaders who speak religious truth. Not too long ago, it was the clergy who regarded mysticism, psychicism, and ESP with disdain. Now, the swing toward mysticism is so pronounced that a church leader who remains aloof from it may sooner or later become the leader of a very small yet self-righteous following indeed. Christ and New Age religion. Jesus implied that the spiritual movements to come would be spirit communion, rather than a visible assemblage governed by organized human authority. Even so, he regarded the systems of his day with tolerance rather than denunciation. He offered no sacrifice in the synagogue, as was the custom, yet he did not attempt to destroy its worship services. Indeed, he was a Jew and a rabbi himself who occasionally taught within the precincts of the synagogue. Never did he seek to destroy the religious system as a whole, lest he bring down the good within it along with the more limiting. His entire purpose was gradually to set right that which was wrong, leaving the good better opportunity for growth. His aim was to condemn the control power and self-righteousness of some leaders of the religious institutions, not the temples themselves. He sought to teach the principles of love and acceptance of all, and a rejection of judgment, power, and control in the name of religion or God. He stressed the connection of each individual with the Holy Spirit. If the master teachers reappeared on earth today, such would seemingly again be their purpose, not the destruction of the church as an institution, but the replacement of dogma with truth. Physical science is now marching with broadening strides into the realm of the invisible, while the mystics, increasing by thousands, scale the heights of the intangible. The welfare of souls must never be committed into the keeping of those who, long centuries ago, clipped the soul's wings and forged fetters about it, lest it escape beyond their authority to the light of free thinking. In the age of Aquarius, Every person must be unshackled spiritually. You must be firmly supported, but never again imprisoned. This must be one of the principal purposes of the age of Aquarius. For this coming freedom, it is important that all be given greater understanding concerning life, death, forgiveness, life after death, the divine spirit within all of life. Everyone should become aware that inspiration is a divine gift to all souls, according to their measure of perception. A holy heritage following humanity like a river of light, as humanity is able to receive the baptism. It was never meant that God's revelations and inspirations be narrowed to the limitations of a few ecclesiastics who doled out blessings as they perceived worthiness of such blessings. Your worthiness can be judged by the divine spirit alone, since this spirit alone can see the workings of the inner person. But the recognition that each soul could attain to God's blessings and inspiration would in many ways still be destructive to organized hierarchical dominion. Thus, it is important that all seekers of light work to encourage the more orthodox or conservative sects of all religions to release their fear and to avoid spreading their teachings through the use of judgment, fear, power, and control. The new view of God. The God that humankind has fashioned into the creeds of a systemized theology is not the God for whom the world awaits. The world waits to find the God that we commune with in our hearts. The conservative church leaders have offered a God subject to petty caprice, who can be bribed into inputting a righteousness, manipulated and coerced by the will of small people. Such a God rules his world according to decisions handed down by councils of souls who can be persuaded to change omniscient laws to fit the gauge of ecclesiastical interpretations. The horde of humanity will no longer accept such a God and are turning from religion in disgust. Earth's people have a need to embrace a God of love and light. We know in our hearts the God given to us through the mystical teachings of all great spiritual movements. Such a God is the only authority humanity will now accept. Puny souls before now could never measure to so noble a dimension. The soul of Aquarius thus seeks a broader base of laws upon which to rest the destiny of one's soul, and find such laws one will. Every church, every religion has a good and useful work to do, but no soul, be it priest, minister, rabbi, a leader of any religion, has authority to declare God's laws to be based upon decisions made by church councils, and to taunt its followers with everlasting torment should they fail to follow such laws. No church can ever be more than a willing servant, urging each of its individual followers to seek within itself the purposes and secrets of the infinite being. Such secrets are only revealed to the individual humble heart, never deposited into the keeping of one lone church institution, nor can such an institution indicate what is yet to be revealed by God to humankind. Such must come to each person according to their solitary seeking, study, and experience. Nor does God deviously hide divine blessings. The divine spirit waits only for you to attune yourself to its wavelength. All creation is a unit, weaving through myriad stages toward one supreme goal, a divine humanity, religion of love on the higher planes. You have spoken statements which lead one to believe that religion as such is not practiced in the higher planes over there, Burton. Is this true? And Burton answered, when it is suggested that there is no religion in the higher planes, it is not meant to imply we have no religion as such, simply that there are no sects and denominations over here except on the lower planes. but religion flourishes on the higher planes, one which does honor to the religion of love. The religion of love is the basis of all life in the higher planes. For the circumstances and environment of every individual is based upon one's ability to love, nor is any one denomination of earth held to be higher than any other. Rather, individuals are judged by their development of this divine attribute. Earnest and conscientious followers of the law of love may be found in all denominations of earth, but our worship is based upon service to humanity. Its litany is written in noble deeds. Its prayers are the tears of sympathy for others. Its sermons, the simple lives openly displayed for all to read. Its songs are the melodies that soothe the brokenhearted. Its faith is the offering of self upon the altar of service, and its highest hope is heaven. The followers of this incomparable religion are those who are bound for the highlands after death. This indeed is the only real religion on this side or on earth. Systems of theology have long since been outgrown on the highlands. In the heart of every follower of this religion, there is a latent ideal which all humankind is blindly pursuing, a vague and undefined hope toward which all nations are groping. Upon these precepts is the future of Earth's religion based, and that future is nearer than it seems. As the systemized and crystallized creeds are one by one replaced with New Age philosophy, Earth will soon know the peace for which every heart yearns. So be it. It's a very relevant one. It's amazing. These. Oh, okay. Well, let us end with a little blessing and with the prayer of Earlyne, if you guys are open. Yes? Okay. All those that we have invoked to, all beloved souls who has committed to us the swift and solemn trust of life, since we know not what a day may bring, but only that the hour of serving thee is always present. Teach us how to be constantly alert to the claims of thy will and the call to service. Lay to rest by the persuasion of thy spirit our doubts and fears. Consecrate with thy presence the way our feet should go, that our humblest work may radiate. Lift us above unrighteous anger and mistrust into faith sublime. May we be modest in our times of wealth, patient in the hours of our adversity, serene in our disappointments, and humble in our moments of shining achievements. In all things, draw us toward thy perfection, that all the world may see in us thy radiant reflection, and keep us ever mindful that we shine for thee. May the divine qualities in you reach out to unify and guide the circumstances of your life harmoniously with divine will and purpose. Tatatsu, tatatsu, tatatsu. As this greater sense of unity with purposeful life flows through us into the world around us, we go to our labors with the assurance that we act in accord with the great purpose of life. Let this divine light in us become the divine light in all we do. May all be surrounded by the pure white light. May all acknowledge I am one with the pure white light. Only good can come to me. Only good shall go from me. All are one with the pure white light. the I am. Only good can come to us. Only good shall go from us. We give thanks. We give thanks. We give thanks. May this divine light radiate out in the lower worlds, the middle worlds, the higher worlds, in all 8 directions above and below. Continuously through our thoughts, emotions, speech, and actions. Only good can come to us. Only good shall go from us. We give thanks. We give thanks. We give thanks. Thank you all. Namaste, precious, precious souls. Thank you for joining Book of Life. We'll see you tomorrow for the blessing of the prayer petitions. And then on Wednesday, Greg is back for the Wednesday classes. Take good care. We'll see you soon. Namaste. Be well.